Islamic Relief USA is a non-profit organization that provides relief and development in a dignified manner regardless of gender, race, or religion, and works to empower individuals in their communities and give them a voice in the world.
You done now? Can we start the podcast?
Okay.
Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man walah.
It's a What a Relief podcast.
My name is Carl, and here with me...
or Mortiman. One of those two is correct.
Yup.
That was just, it was so real.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to a very special episode of the What a Relief podcast. Today we're going to try something different. Obviously we have a different setting, a different studio, and today we're going to do some Facebook Live. What's up, Facebook land? Assalamu alaikum. Hey everybody, hope you guys are tuning in. Leave your comments down below. We're not going to get to questions today, but if you leave your questions, we know you're listening, so we can share those for next time. Just keep that in mind. Anyway, we're going to get right into this today because we're already a little bit behind schedule. I would like everybody to please welcome Abed Ayoub. Did I get it?
You got it.
I got it.
You got it.
I was sitting here practicing before we started. I kept going, Ayoub, right? Ayoub. I had the Abed down. That was not a problem. Totally had that locked in. But Abed, you are here from Third Pillar, an organization out of DC. And as you and I were talking before we hit the magic little record and camera buttons and everything, you're the co-founder.
Yes.
So obviously, being Third Pillar, it's the 5 pillars of Islam, and you represent the third, which is... What's the third pillar? No, can you hear me, though?
Yes, zakat.
Zakat is the third pillar.
Sorry,
Excellent.
I had to take these off.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I told you that the only reason you needed to have those on was just to hear me, and you don't really need them, so we're good. I need them because I'm listening to other things, and I'm actually going to have to make some adjustments while you're talking. But beyond that, so the third pillar is zakat.
Yes.
And for those that don't know, because I know not all of our audience is Muslim, what is zakat?
Zakat is the practice of giving, and that's what at Third Pillar we want to encompass, giving back to the community and giving those that are less fortunate and helping others that are in need. That's the way we define it to our people, and that's the way it's defined through our mission, is to give back to those that are in need and give to the community to those that are in need.
So this Saturday, the 18th, November 18th, this Saturday, November 18th, Islamic Relief USA, Third Pillar, and I know IRUSA and Third Pillar have been doing this for a hot minute now.
Yes.
This is since I've been here. I think this is my third where we're doing a turkey, not in it, but it's not just turkey. That's the thing. No. You talk to people about like a turkey distribution, but it's not really just turkeys. We're going to be giving away fruits and vegetables. We're going to be giving away stuffing and the turkey. And it's essentially giving away an entire Thanksgiving meal to those in need. And I think there was another partner this year. It's not just the two of us this year.
This year we're with the Metro Police Department Youth Program, Youth Initiative, who are helping us out and identifying individuals that we can that we'll be donating the goods to, and working with them as well. So it's an exciting year. I think this is going to be a good year for us.
That sounds awesome. So tell me why this is important. Why is it important why is it important to give these away? I mean, it's an entire Thanksgiving meal. Why is that important? Why does that matter?
Well, it's important to remember that a large part of our population suffers from poverty and has issues and basically putting food on the table. And millions of Americans are going to go without a Thanksgiving dinner this year. So we're just trying to do our part, at least in the D.C. area, to help those in need. So every child could have a Thanksgiving dinner or could at least enjoy the holidays during these trying times. So it's important for us to come together and work with the community to provide these folks something tangible, some food and some items during this holiday season. So it's an important program, and the more we do in this city and the more people do across the country, the more people we feed. And again, these are trying times. You have millions of Americans that are living at or below the poverty line who cannot afford a Thanksgiving dinner, who can't afford to put food on the table any day of the week. So we have to do our part year round, not only on Thanksgiving. We try to work year round to give back to these families and to give to these individuals, give back to the community. And at the same time, not only provide food, but some of our programs throughout the year will include how to get out of this poverty. Providing the food and the needs is only addressing the symptoms. It doesn't really cure the issue. We have to provide them an opportunity to get out of this poverty and have a living and provide for themselves moving forward. So it's a long-term struggle.
So what does that look like to give someone some training and to help them get out of the cycle? What does something like that look like?
Well, there's a number of ways of doing it. You could team up with local organizations that provide job training. You could provide
like IRUSA,
like Islamic Relief USA. We'll give them a plug. Different organizations locally and nationally, for example, that provide the job training is the first thing that comes to mind. Provide them opportunities. There's things such as suit drives where individuals are donating suits to young men going into job interviews that may not be able to afford them. We know of local barbers who provide free haircuts for young men or women going into job interviews, again, who otherwise couldn't afford them. So it's these small things that will prop these individuals up and give them an opportunity to move their life forward.
Yeah, that's amazing. Now, I want to ask you something, and I might be putting you on the spot, and I apologize, but I know we had a meeting here beforehand about the turkey distribution. And like I said, it's not just a turkey distribution. It's an entire Thanksgiving meal. And I told them as we were doing the meeting, I said, we're going to post this on Facebook. And I promise you, the first comment we get is going to be, Astaghfirullah haram, that a Muslim is observing Thanksgiving. And sure enough, I was lucky enough to send the email that opened with, I told you so. So what do you say to those? I mean, I know what I say, but what do you say as our partner, as Third Pillar? What do you say to those that say, oh, this is haram that you guys would do something like this, or why are you observing Thanksgiving? What do you say to people like that?
To people like that, I say this, as Muslims, we have a duty and an obligation to help our neighbors and to help our community. We're doing this work as Muslims first and trying to help the community because that's what our religion tells us to do. Now, if we take advantage of the Thanksgiving holiday, because this is when people are giving, this is a time of year nationally, and we respect our neighbors and what they do. So even if you don't celebrate Thanksgiving, respect the fact that your neighbors do. And this is an opportunity to help them and to give back to the community during this time. Personally, I celebrate Thanksgiving. As you can tell, it's my favorite holiday of the year. I have no problem with Thanksgiving. I actually look forward to it every year. And part of the reason I do look forward to it is a time of the year where people are more willing to give, willing to donate to organizations such as Third Pillar or Islamic Relief. And that helps us continue our work throughout the year. So it's important to recognize that this is not just about us or our, how we view Thanksgiving. This is about giving back to the community and giving back to individuals regardless of what religion they are or what ethnicity they are or where they're from. We have to come together to tackle this issue of poverty in this country and the impact it's having on our neighbors.
Yeah, and I actually really agree with you. And for me, one of the things that I love about Thanksgiving personally is that because it is a national holiday, everything stops. And so while you may not, because we get so busy in our day-to-day lives with our jobs and everything else and our phones and our emails and text messages and our Facebook feeds. And so it becomes overwhelming, but luckily, being a national holiday, everything stops. Yep. And families can come together and families can be together, even if it's not, like you said, even if you're not like observing the Thanksgiving holiday, your family's coming together because everything's closed, everybody's off work. Why not come together and spend the time? Yeah. So yeah, that's I agree with you 100%.
Yeah. No, it is an important time, and families do come together. But that's kind of a segue into the families we chose this year to receive the turkeys. Of course, they're in need and less fortunate. But also we focus on families that lost loved ones to senseless violence, whether to gun violence or anything that happened within the past year. And we really want to help those families overcome their loss, whether it be a loved one,
Right.
a son, a brother, a daughter, because the violence is really striking in a lot of these communities. And we really want to help these individuals not only just enjoy the holiday, but help them, again, move their life forward slowly and show them that, there are people out there that do care about their situation and do care about what they've gone through over the past year or so. So we are focusing on, as I said, individuals that lost loved ones to whether it be gun violence or any other violence within the D.C. area, as well as individuals that have suffered from, that are victims of sexual assault within the past year or so. So that's what we're working with the D.C. Metro Police Department to identify these individuals and provide them this opportunity.
Yeah, no, and you're right, because a lot of times, especially if it's like I don't want to say a high profile case, because there are certain neighborhoods in DC that are high in violence. It's just a thing. Where were we last year? We were,
I think, the Northeast as well.
Yeah, I want to say, for some reason the Ninth Ward seems to, we were in the Ninth Ward last year.
Ward, yes.
Yeah, and I remember talking to the people there and what was going on in their lifestyles and what was going on in their lives. And it really is a lot. And we sometimes think that, or we forget rather, that in the midst of somebody's struggle, something as kind as a smile or a free Thanksgiving dinner can really change the world for them.
Yeah, it really does. And I'll give you a small example. I think it was a couple years ago, we were passing out the boxes and doing a feeding, and we were at one of the distribution centers, and a few young ladies came up to us and said, don't throw away the empty boxes. We want them. We were like, why? They said, well, we use them to make mattresses and to cover ourselves. So it really shows you that we are, as a country, we are in a bad position, in a bad place right now when it comes to poverty. I mean, there's people literally taking our boxes, empty boxes of food once they eat them, and lay them out as mattresses. I mean, this should tell you that how are we the richest nation in the world? In our backyard here in D.C., in the capital's backyard, and we're seeing this type of suffering. So we really need to come together to tackle it.
No, and you're right, because I know, again, in my position here at IRUSA, I've seen a lot of comments that a lot of them come from overseas, that they're not necessarily based here in the U.S., but there is that misconception a lot that people are like, but you're the U.S., you're the richest nation in the world, one of. There's no poverty in the U.S. Why are you guys trying to raise money to help in the U.S.? But there is. There's. I remember it wasn't the turkey distribution, although my family is coming this year. But years ago, we went down to the Islamic Heritage Museum in D.C. And the first year I went, I was by myself, and I was really shook to see. I mean, I live in Fairfax. It's one of the richest counties in the world, or in the United States, especially in Virginia. 10-minute drive, the environment that I was in versus where I live. And I was like, wow. And the next year I took my wife and my son with me, and they were like, oh, this is why you work. This is what you're doing. And they, ever since then, it's a family thing now that MLK Day, we go down there. And this year they're coming to the turkey distribution on Saturday with us.
Yeah. It's eye-opening. There's statistics out there that 47% of Muslims in this country live at or below the poverty line. So it impacts our community directly. It impacts all communities directly. And again, you in Washington, D.C., to see this happening behind the Capitol and to see what's going on is really troubling. And that's why, again, we have to support the efforts of organizations like Third Pillar and Islamic Relief to help tackle this problem.
Yeah. So I was given a segue yesterday before you sat down. We were talking about interviewing you today and what topics we would discuss and what we would go over. And somebody said, hey, make sure you look at him and say that you're not only the co-founder of Third Pillar, you also work with the ADC. And I know before you sat down, I asked you what that stood for, and I don't remember because that's just how good my memory is. So you are a lawyer with the ADC.
Yes, I'm the National Legal and Policy Director of ADC. It's the American Arab Anti-Discrimination Committee. It's the country's largest Arab American civil rights organization.
So what kind of work do you do there?
At ADC, so with Third Pillar, it's volunteer. I give my time. It's something to give back to the community. Yeah. With ADC, the work never stops. It's volunteer and pay. So what we do is work with victims of discrimination directly. We provide pro bono legal services to the community, and we address policy issues impacting the community directly, particularly when it comes to surveillance and immigration and other matters. So as you can imagine, with this new administration coming in, we have a number of policy issues that are on our agenda that we have to address and work to protect the community on. So it's a full plate of work at ADC, and it's keeping a lot of advocates here in DC busy this time of year.
I know one of our staff here wanted me to ask you about your work with refugees over the last couple of months and what your experience has been with that.
Well, on the refugee front, it's troubling. It's the fact that this country is reducing the number of refugees coming into essentially what amounts to an all-time low is troubling. And the executive orders that were signed into place, the Arab and Muslim bans. So we've been trying to work on tackling those, getting through those, supporting litigation whenever we can, supporting groups, taking part in the rallies across the country. Really, that's what we've been focused on. And not just the refugees, but the individuals from these countries are really in a bad position. You're in limbo, and we have the temporary protective status, for example, for El Salvador, for Syria, for Yemen, for Haiti. Yes. They're looking to get rid of these, and now you're talking hundreds of thousands of individuals that fled, natural disasters or war or humanitarian crisis to the U.S. being forced to return back to these countries. So this is going to be an issue in the next year, along with the refugee issue that's really going to be taking a lot of our time and a lot of the advocates' time as well.
Yeah, that really is. That's. I know as things have rolled out over the last couple of months, it is eye-opening to think that you've had these people that are under a protected status, and they came here and they've had children, and the children have grown up here, and this is the only life that those children know. Yeah. But they have to go back now to a country they don't know, to a place that they may not necessarily understand the language, and they certainly don't understand the culture, because at the end of the day, they're American and they understand this is the culture they were raised in. And that is something that, it's a problem.
It's a problem, yeah. And you have to feel for these individuals. Take, for example, the ones from Yemen that got TPS. How are they supposed to return to Yemen with the humanitarian crisis going on over there? You don't give TPS unless it's really needed. In these countries, a lot of them are in dire need of some assistance. So that's why their nationals are here, and we should protect them. Yeah,
because, you're right. There's a soapbox, IRUSA.org/Yemen. There's a cholera outbreak, there's starvation, there's blockades, and there's a great deal that's going on over there. And Yemen really does need support to help with these issues. So, yes, IRUSA.org/Yemen. But so, if somebody wanted to learn more about the ADC, where would they go to do that?
ADC.org. Or you can go to our Facebook page. It's Facebook Live, American Arab Anti-Discrimination Committee. And you check out the information, a lot of what we're doing there. But the website is adc.org. Cool.
Now let's shift back to Third Pillar.
Sure.
So I know you were looking up the information on your phone before we started. So it's this Saturday, the 18th. It'll be IRUSA, Third Pillar, and I already forgot what you said, the police department, right?
Yes, Metro Police Department, Youth and Family Services.
And Youth and Family Services, right. And the distribution starts...
10 a.m.
At 10 a.m. on Saturday.
Yes.
And if somebody were interested in... have you I think... From what I remember, the emails, we've identified we have 2,000 meals to distribute this Saturday. Now, the one thing that I want to say is that typically, in my time here at IRUSA, these distributions have been once a year with Third Pillar, but this year we're actually branching out and we're doing some like all over the nation. And we've identified our partners. So this year we're doing 2,000 dinners that we're distributing with the Third Pillar. If somebody wanted to be, have you identified all the families, or are there some more that if somebody wanted to say, hey, I live here and I could use help, who should they talk to? Where would they go to?
Sure, they can send the DC, the Metro Police Department is helping us identify the families that have gone through the violence and the victims and so forth. But if you are interested in, a family, or even if it's outside Thanksgiving in a different time, any time of the year, you can always email Irene, who's our super volunteer and who's really leading a lot of the legwork on this effort. Her email address is Irene, IRENE, @thirdpillar.org. We're very accessible, and you can just email and say, hey, we know such and such that may need help, and we'll do our best. Again, any time of the year, we'll do our best to get to that person and provide them whatever it is they need, whether it be school supplies for the kids or some perishable items, whatever we can do to help them, we do it.
So it's not just Thanksgiving. It's year-round.
It's year-round, yeah. We do year-round volunteering at the D.C. Central Kitchen. We help with different missions around the D.C. area. We do once a year in the summer a back-to-school activity where we distribute close to 1,000 backpacks and school supplies to children in the D.C. area. So there's a lot of work and a lot of different events that we do throughout the year to help those in the D.C. community that need it.
And there is a need. And I know I keep going back to that, but it until you drive down to the 9th Ward, you really don't understand that there is, and as he said, it's literally right behind the Capitol, a couple of blocks over, and you're at the Capitol. And it's just, it hurts my brain to try to figure out how we got from point A to point B. But it is. Allahu Alam. It's
sad.
It is. It really is. But if somebody wanted to learn more about Third Pillar,
thirdpillar.org.
Very
straightforward. And we have a third Facebook page as well, American Third Pillar Charities, which is a lot of information. You can sign up to volunteer, keep up to date on different events going on in the DC area as well.
Yeah. No, I the one question I want to ask you, because I know we get it all the time, and so anytime I'm sitting with someone and we're doing these interviews, I always put them on the hot spot. And this will be a real simple question, I promise. But if somebody comes to you and says, hey, I need a backpack. Hey, I need a Thanksgiving dinner. Hey, I need clothes for my kids for school or whatever. Do you ask them what religion they are?
No, absolutely not.
Do you ask them what race they are?
Absolutely not.
Do you ask them where they're from?
Nope.
Yeah, see, there you go. And that's just a point that I want to stress, because a lot of people get the misconception that we only help Muslims or we only help within our own communities. And that's really not the situation.
No, it's not. And in fact, when you look at the Third Pillar website and you look at the brochures we pass out and what we give individuals, there's no way you can tell it's a Muslim organization or any of that, unless you talk to us directly or you ask what founded the organization. But we don't ask, we don't push it. We're just out there to do our obligation and help those that are in need, regardless of what religion they are or where they're from.
Right. Which would also lead to the other question. When you hand out a Thanksgiving dinner, do you put a Quran in the box for them? No? Okay.
We put the Third Pillar sticker and the Islamic Relief sticker on the boxes, but we don't hand out Qurans.
There you go. Yeah. No, that's amazing. So, I know I've already said it, but I'm going to say it again. Thank you for coming down here today, because I know our office is out in the suburbs, and we're not exactly downtown adjacent, but and so thank you for taking the time out of your day and coming out. But the other thing I want to say is that right now you have our audience, and you, of course, it's going up on the internet, and what goes up on the internet stays up on the internet forever. So you have our audience ears, you have our audience attention, you have the attention of everyone that's ever going to hear this. And I thought, we lost connection. That's cool. I saw around, there were like 30 people watching on Facebook. What's your message to them? What would you say to them?
What I would say to them is, do your part. Do your part in the community. And every small effort helps to eradicate this problem that we're facing of poverty, and understand the challenges your neighbors face, and understand that we have a lot of issues in this country. We have a lot of issues and including within our community and within the Muslim American community as well. But we have to work on addressing these, whether it be poverty, whether it be the opioid addiction, which we didn't even talk about, which is something. Please take a moment and address the issue. I mean, because that is a really big thing. I'm a New Hampshire native, and so to see what's happening to my state, it's really painful to me. But go ahead. I mean, because we're here. No, I mean it's definitely a problem, and it's one that's often overlooked or not discussed within the Muslim American community. And I'm focusing on our community now. We know that opioid addiction is a problem in the United States, and heroin addiction and heroin overdoses are on the rise. But what are we as a community doing to address it within our community? And what are we doing to help with this issue publicly as well with other communities? So it's something we have to look at. It's something within the next year. We'll be looking at what services could we offer, what could we possibly do, who could we work with to provide education, to provide the useful information for these individuals to recover from this addiction. And there are organizations, forming in Metro Detroit area, such as SAFE and others, that provide a model for how the community itself, the Muslim American community, can take a lead in working on this issue. But it's important we're involved on a local level, and we appreciate the support that Islamic Relief gives to a lot of local organizations, so we are empowered and able to do this work. Without Islamic Relief providing the opportunity and the space, it would be difficult. So take advantage of working locally. Try to connect with some national organizations for support and guidance. But it all starts on a local level, and every local community has its problems. But we face similar issues that we need to tackle. We need to work on together.
No, and 100%, and it really does. It's my grandmother had 8 kids, and she always used to tell the story that when the oldest one would have a bad day, they'd come home and pick on the younger one, and then the younger one would pick on the not younger one, and then the younger one would pick on the younger one, and straight down the line until the youngest of the 8 kids would eventually just kick the dog. So, but I say that because the reverse works as well. So something as nice as handing out a food or a smile or simply listening to your neighbor can have a ripple effect across the community, across the town, across the state, and inshallah, across the country.
Inshallah. Yeah, that's the objective. If we all do our part, it will have that effect.
And smile at your neighbor, because smiling sunnah.
Yeah.
There you go. All right, Abed, I want to thank you once again.
No problem.
Looking forward to those that come out this Saturday to see us in D.C. It will be an awesome time. Like I said, I've done this a bunch of times before. It's always an amazing time getting to know the community, getting to meet the people, getting to work with the the co-founders, Mo Rocca. No, not that Mo Rocca, but we get to work with Mo Rocca and Abed, and it's just an amazing time, and it's so much fun. So come on out, meet the community, do some good, hand out some food. Nothing wrong with that.
That's right.
Thank you once again. And ladies and gentlemen, until next time, I am BC Dodge for the Water Relief Podcast, and we will say, Assalamu alaikum. My name is Carl, and here with me...
or Mortimer. One of those two is correct.
I have messed this up yet again.
Yeah, I didn't know where you were going with all of that as well.
What are we doing?
Let's do it badly, and then we can do it better.
Oh, excellent. That's the way I like to do.